So I got this video recommended to me. World of Warcraft rewards the worst behavior. Oh, brother. This statement could have not been truer. If you played World of Warcraft retail or classic, you know that Blizzard have been catering to the 1% for the better part of the past 6 years. And this mentality has seeped into classic. It was bad in retail, but it's even worse in classic because that's not how you're supposed to play the game. Now, that being said, I haven't watched this video yet, and I'm excited for it because I watched a couple of his videos about World of Warcraft and they all slapped. So let's hear what he has to say first, and then I'm going to add my stuff on top of it.
If you've played World of Warcraft for any length of time, you've probably experienced it. Running towards a quest mob and someone tags it just before you get there. Or you see a herb and...
Or better yet, someone tags the mob right before you do, but you already casted your spell, so now the mob is aggroed towards you, and the other person who tagged it just watch you die. Yeah, that's true Classic Plus content. Save that for the future, Blizzard. Trust me. Everyone would love you for that.
Someone runs in just before you and steals it. It's annoying, but you kind of just accept it as part of the game. But things can get a lot worse than a missed mob or a stolen herb. In my years of playing both classic World of Warcraft and retail, bouncing between a casual and a hardcore player, I've seen how a toxic mindset has basically become the norm. Underneath the surface, it stops being a casual game and becomes a hyper-optimized environment with zero room for error. We're talking about being kicked from a party for being too slow, or not even getting invited in the first place because your gear score is too low,
or because you're playing the wrong class. You can take notes from TBC. I played Retribution Paladin and oh boy, they let me know that I wasn't welcome there.
Or in Classic where one person can piss off and...
Seal switching doesn't matter. I was topping DPS charts and people still clowned on me for being a paladin, or they wouldn't even give you the opportunity because you're not playing a mage or warlock. It literally does not matter. As long as you're not playing an optimal class, no one is even going to invite you. I was literally invited into heroics and kicked immediately after. They didn't even give me a chance.
Entire server by dropping a world buff before it was scheduled to be dropped. I've seen all of these things happen.
Okay, to be fair, this one is kind of understandable. Don't do that, okay? Like, this is on the moderate side. I do understand this one.
And sometimes...
You shouldn't ostracize someone because of it, but, you know, you can get a little bit mad about that.
I've been part of the problem too. World of Warcraft has basically become an every man for himself simulator where the other players are just obstacles. There was one specific dungeon that I ran in Shadowlands where I discovered just how alienating this behaviour can be. So today I want to look at the toxic side of World of Warcraft, both in classic and in retail, and why I stopped solo queuing for good.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, retail mentality just seeped into classic.
If you decide to do some Mythic Plus dungeon runs in retail, there are some unspoken rules that I've encountered over the years.
You need to know exactly the most optimal route and where to go and who to kill, otherwise you're gonna be kicked. Yeah, that's what he's about to say. 100%. I know because I played Mythic Plus, and I know this because I'm about to start playing Mythic Plus. I'm leveling through retail right now, and oh boy, it's garbage. And I know that once I reach midnight, I'm going to suffer. But I'm going to do this just for the sake of having a solid ground to stand on whenever I criticize Blizzard and World of Warcraft in the future. And believe me, I will.
People expect you to know the optimal route to get through the dungeon, where to skip certain mobs and the optimal pace to run at, and to know what is worth killing and worth just running past.
Have you watched this before? Have you pre-watched? No. I just played World of Warcraft. It's literally the same garbage everywhere. If you played WoW, you already know this. You literally know it. It's the same reason for why they introduced delves. They don't want you to play with other people. Okay? It's just that pathetic.
And if you don't play by these unspoken rules, well, people are going to treat it as a problem. It creates a feeling that if you're new and want to learn these things, that's not accepted. They're going to kick you from the dungeon. If you do want to play at a slower and safer pace, well, people are just going to start getting annoyed at you.
Guys, literally yesterday, I play World of Warcraft at night because I'm not recording until I reach midnight. So right now I'm leveling through Dragonflight, and I played yesterday night. and I went to, I don't remember how this zone called, but basically I did the third dungeon in Dragonflight, and yeah, I went in. We had such a toxic healer, and we had the dumbest rogue player ever, which I guess is on point, right? If I'm being thematic here. And he accidentally pulled 2 packs of mobs. I'm not even joking, you guys. 2 seconds later, the healer offered to kick him. And you know what his reason was? Idiot. That was it. No explaining, no trying to help the other guy, no communication. Just straight up vote kick, called him an idiot. We refused to kick him, instantly quit the dungeon. It was beautiful, man. Truly retail WoW experience. And that was a leveling dungeon too. It actually kind of makes me consider using the NPCs Blizzard gave you to run a dungeon, but I just play as a tank, so I don't have to wait that often. And also, I just like playing with other people. The other dungeons that I ran were actually kind of nice, but this one in particular was such an hilarious reminder that, you know, retail players still do exist.
It's expected that you play
especially
the dungeon
in retail,
to the current
if you would
meta
imagine.
surrounding it. And if you're forming a group, you first have to get through the barrier of your gear level. If you haven't got very good gear, it's likely that you're going to be sat in that dungeon finder for a long time before you get an invitation. And I've fallen prey to this myself when making groups. When I see the list of DPS that I could invite, I naturally invite the person with the highest item level. And it's hard not to, because you know that those people with the higher item level are likely to be more powerful. And that means that the dungeon run is going to go at a smooth...
Item level completely destroyed the game. I think Blizzard should remove it. I hate item level. I never did like it.
...smoother pace. It's just how
That's
the
my
systems
opinion.
built into the game push you to thinking that way. And times when...
Also, the chasing small numbers mentality has been completely detrimental for the game itself. 100%. I really believe they should remove item level. Item should just be an item, and that's it. You should have power levels, and I think certain people with certain gear may be prioritized over you because they have something that other peoples don't have. Sure, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it was never to that degree, right? It was never this bad.
I've had a character with a lower gear level. I feel like I have to make a group, otherwise I'm just never going to get a group. This isn't people being toxic, it's a system that encourages you to treat people's item level as a performance risk.
Absolutely.
Raidfinder is a...
It's flaw by design. It's all Blizzard's fault. It's not the players because they are playing the game that Blizzard had created. It's not their fault. You can't blame a person for engaging with a system that is clearly implemented inside of the game for them to be engaged with. You literally cannot call them out for that. It's all on Blizzard. Every single bit of it.
A completely different story, and it often comes down to a sense of detachment. If you wipe on a boss, people are just going to leave, and that results in you waiting 5 to 10 minutes just to replace a few people so you can try that boss again. In my times playing through Raidfinder, I find myself sitting there thinking, why am I even still here waiting? I don't even care about this boss. And the group doesn't really feel like a group. It feels completely disposable. If I was to leave, no one would even notice.
Of course, because you're a bunch of randoms that were huddled up together by Blizzard with the dungeon fighters. That's why the dungeon finder is such a controversial topic even to this day. Some people do agree that it's necessary, some people don't. I think that we personally can find a middle ground where the dungeon finder just puts you inside of a group, but you still have to walk to the dungeon. And while you're walking to the dungeon, you're most likely to communicate with your group, and you can kind of assess which type of people they are and if you're actually willing to run this dungeon to its entirety together. And also I think the fact that dungeons are way smaller now and more to the point is really bad because you don't really have that sense of commitment anymore like you had previously, because back in the day a dungeon was a dungeon, right? And if you committed to Marathon, you knew that you were supposed to play with a certain type of people for at the very least like 2 hours, right? Or maybe I'm like a little bit exaggerating here, for at least 1 hour, okay? If you wanted to do complete marathon run, you know you had to commit to it. But nowadays, it's not the case. Like, oh, someone leaves, okay, let's replace him real quick. Like, nobody really minds. Back in the day, that wasn't the case. And it was beautiful. Because even if you hated each other and you had people making a lot of dumb shit, like, I played with hunters that pulled complete mobs like 3 times and destroyed a whole run. We still played together and we still conquered that final boss. Was it a hassle? Sure. but it was fun at the end and it was super rewarding. And I bet that Hunter player learned something at the end. No, wait, he played Hunter. Maybe I'm wrong.
Honestly, the times where I've gone through Raid Finder, I've usually come away feeling like I had a bad experience. While I was in the raid and I technically saw the content, it's not really the same as experiencing the content. And as more and more retail expansions have come and have gone, I've actually just stopped bothering to even do Raid Finder because it felt like a waste of time. We can call this just leave culture, and it shows up in both versions of World of Warcraft. If things start going wrong, people just leave to avoid wasting their time. Most of the time people just leave the party without saying anything, or they Alt F4 and you notice 5 minutes later that they've disconnected from the dungeon. Or they might just blatantly leave the group and Hearthstone out right in front of you. And there's always the vague excuses like,
that's
my
based, I
hand's
respect
on fire,
that.
I've got to go. And you're always one button away from finding a replacement to your group. In Classic, it could be because you've lost your world buffs. Now your passes are going to suffer, and it's beginning to feel more and more like a complete waste of time. Or a player may have completed their objective, their quest, and decide it's time to dip. So many players see group...
Dude, whoever do that, like, you shouldn't play MMO. You should be literally banned from playing video games. If you're just there to complete a quest and dip, at the very least, have the courtesy to say that in advance. I think most people would be kind of fine with it. They would be like, oh, okay, just run until this point and maybe we'll replace you with another DPS. But if you're like playing a tank or a healer and you do that, oh my god, brother, like shameless. No, you gotta complete the run. That's disrespectful.
Content as
even if you're playing DPS, it's disrespectful.
They're just there to get their objectives done and then they're out. In retail, you can filter out that culture yourself through the Dungeon Finder. I can't express how much this helped me when I was making my dungeon groups and I would advertise it as a noobs only run or a chill run, and that listing would help me find players that wouldn't lose their mind over a slower paced dungeon run. Retail can feel like you have to fight against this culture actively if it's not something you want to partake in, but you can find yourself a better environment for retail if you take some effort and make groups yourself. And things are getting a bit hot and sweaty now because we're going to be talking about Classic.
Damn.
Classic is perhaps the version of WoW that builds the deepest sense of community, and there's an underbelly of toxic culture that you've probably already encountered, especially if you're not in a guild. One of the biggest examples of that in Classic is parsing in raids. For anyone that doesn't know what I mean by parsing, it's basically when you rank your character against everyone else to see how you stack up and to see where you rank against them. It essentially turns raiding into a scoreboard. Now I know people parse in retail too, but I haven't actively done that in retail, but I have in Classic. And to be fair, it can be genuinely fun. Competing and improving your pass number can feel really good, but it can also change the purpose of the run. Instead of being about just clearing the raid, maybe having a chat with your guildmates and having a bit of fun, it becomes about your number. And a lot of the time, if you're joining pug raids, that's all anyone cares about.
Well, I kind of disagree and agree at the same time. So really, it just depends on you. Because if you do the comparing and you're so incessant on numbers, then that's a you issue. Okay, that's a you problem, boo-boo. But if you decide to chill, take a step back and don't look at numbers, like, yeah, you can have a lot of fun. It really just depends on the player. And I think it's not really that bad of a thing. Because if you want to be that type of player who plays competitively and topping charts, awesome. There's place for you. But if you want to be a player like me who just sits back and chill, and I do really try to like push damage and min-max because it's like fun for me, but sometimes I do want to chill. It kind of just depends on the raid and, you know, what I'm feeling at the time. It's great that I can shift between the two. So I'm not fully agreeing with him that, hey, you should only chill, relax, and have fun. Like, no, sometimes you can sweat it out and be competitive. That's completely fine with me.
There's even a phrase for it. You might get called a pass hole. One of my favourite moments passing in Classic World of Warcraft is when my warrior was really well geared and I was doing a GDKP run in Zul'Gurub, and I was able to run in as a Fury tank in full DPS gear and pop all my cooldowns on that first boss, and it got me a 99 pass, and I was genuinely really chuffed with myself about that. There it was, on the boss Jindo the Hexer, I got a 99, I did 1100 DPS,
Damn.
And that was probably the most fun I had in all of Classic. This passing system can make real excitement and satisfaction when you pull off a good number, but passing can lead to really silly behaviour. So this is my paladin, and you can see here I've got a...
Yeah, I was one of the best Shadow Priest on my entire server. But to be fair, I was probably the only one.
Full array of 99 passes, so that means I did really well on this paladin, but it doesn't tell the full story. So I was there as a paladin healer, but
I literally played Night Elf Priest, and Blackwing Lair has these monsters where they have certain weakness to a magical affinity. So once they had weakness to arcane damage, bro, I just popped star shards. Everyone looked at me at how I topped the charts, and the guild leader literally went, what the hell is a star shard? Like arcane shards, whatever it was called. What the hell was this attack? Nobody played Night Elf Priest because of that. It was so lame. But on that particular occasion, it was perfect. Oh man, the Warlocks, they lost their mind. They couldn't pull this move off.
Out if I stood there and did DPS instead of healing, it would give me a good passing rank. This essentially meant that my character was useless to the raid. A holy paladin doing DPS does basically no damage, but the passing system was telling me I was doing good. At this point of the game, TBC was almost out, so everyone was overgeared and it didn't really matter, but it shows you how passing can affect your behaviour. In the grand scheme of things, my pass score is completely pointless. It means nothing, but just the fact
everything you do inside of a video game means nothing. That's the point of video games. You come here to just disconnect yourself from reality and enjoy. It's mindless fun. Literally, you gearing up in World of Warcraft, it means nothing. You do it for fun. That's the point. Like, that's video games. It is what it is. Unless you're a streamer or someone who makes content, all you do inside of video games is for nothing. You gain nothing out of it. Like, literally. But that's the point. And that's fine.
The fact that that score exists.
As long as you have fun, it's completely fine. It's okay.
Make these stupid
You're doing it
decisions. Right. Blackwing Lair was also what I like to call a pumper's paradise. Look at that, 4.5k DPS, 4.6, 4.8. Oh my god, it ended on 5.1. That really was pumper's paradise. Most bosses in Classic WoW had you standing still, so you could just focus on pressing your buttons as optimally as possible. On top of that, you've got world buffs, consumables, organising your groups in the most optimal manner. So essentially, Blackwing Lair in particular became all about chasing those numbers and getting them as high as possible. Because of the way the boss encounters had you standing still, there was just more room to hyper-optimise your DPS numbers. But because of these world buffs, it is easy for players to tilt and rage quit if they die and lose their world buffs. I remember this happening on one ult run in Classic World of Warcraft of Blackwing Lair. One of our top rogues, he was the DPS pumper, and he was joining us for the raid just to get a good pass number, and he ended up dying on the first boss, and he was out. He just left the group and we never heard from him for the rest of the day. The only reason...
That's because he played a rogue. You should have been aware.
He was in the raid group.
That's on you.
Was to pump. He wasn't there for any gear. That passing culture says that this run is now ruined if you've lost your world buffs, and I heard that sentiment so many times over many of the warriors in my guild. If they were to die early on in a raid, they would just be quite sad for the rest of the run. But this can hit particularly hard in pug raids if you wipe on the first boss and people just start dropping, and it becomes really hard to replace those people. It's not as easy as in retail where you go into the dungeon finder and there's a list of people waiting to be invited. If you lose a few too many people, then you might as well just call the run. And GDKP runs only intensified this pumping culture. While it was still about your performance and the gear that you had, there was also huge amounts of gold on the line, and everyone wanted to contribute as much as they could towards that DPS number. This meant for those of you with good gear, it was fun. You could turn up, pump as hard as you can, get a little bit of gold at the end of the run for just pressing your buttons. But if you didn't have the gear, you probably weren't getting invited, or you were there to buy something. To even participate at this level comfortably, you needed the gear, you needed the consumables, you needed to go and get all those world buffs. You needed to make sure your rotation was optimized. Otherwise, you might end up with people analyzing your rotation and asking you, why didn't you use this certain ability as often as you could. This culture pushes the game towards an ultra-optimized, highly sweaty way of playing the game. It feels so far removed from that original exploratory fantasy setting that World of Warcraft started as. And honestly, from my experience, pumping culture is really the default culture in classic World of Warcraft. It isn't an issue to have this as a subculture in the game. If you enjoy that, I personally have enjoyed it, then that's okay. It's just for a lot of classic, it feels like that is the main culture. And even when you're leveling up alts, people are hyper-optimizing their characters, making sure they have the best weapon available, the best enchants for that level, so they can pump through those dungeons and levels. Even if you
and that's not a bad thing. It's okay. If you want to min-max your, damage capabilities, it's completely fine. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Personally want exploration, or to play a weird build, or to have a relaxed time in a dungeon. The environment you're playing in is increasingly shaped by those hyper-optimization expectations. It's honestly where the game really feels like the antithesis of what WoW really was to begin with. I was in a casual guild for a long time in classic World of Warcraft. Hell, we even brought ourselves a Moonkin, and for many guilds they would not bring a Moonkin because their DPS was subpar compared to, say, bringing in a fully buffed warrior.
You need at least one, though. You need to put them with a caster so they can actually pump them some damage. It's the same thing for when I played Shadow Priest. You only needed one per guild because you need to group them with a warlock so they can deal more shadow damage.
But for me, those raid runs weren't so much about pumping. They were about just hearing the stupid things we were going to say over Discord and having a fun time. I liked it because of those stupid conversations. And at the same time, the game isn't particularly difficult. So I'm there having a fun time, getting a bit of gear, getting a bit of dopamine for getting some rewards, and overall just clearing content and having a good time. Essentially, it was a dad guild. But with the release of classic TBC, the guild wanted to go down a different route. They wanted to become a more hardcore guild and chase those clear times and numbers. And honestly, this shift in the direction of the guild really changed my enjoyment for the game, because I wanted to keep playing with the people that I had been playing with for a couple of years at this point. I did not want to walk away from that, but I didn't enjoy the direction that we were going in. Honestly, for a time it made...
It's unfortunate, but it sounds like a personal issue, to be honest. Like, yeah, I mean, the guild that you were part of, and it was casual to begin with, wanted to become a little bit more hardcore. It kind of sucks, right? Because it doesn't align with your goals and values for the game. But at the same time, if anyone else, like everyone else wants it, then yeah, you can just move out to a different guild. It's unfortunate, right? It's really sucks to lose the people that you used to play with all time. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Some unfortunate things may happen. This is an MMO and you play with real people. It can just happen. It is what it is.
Me unsubscribe from the game. Ultimately, I did come back and continue raiding with them later in TBC, but it did make me bounce off a game that I had otherwise been solidly subscribed to prior to that. And while that's not really toxic behaviour, it's the social environment changing that no longer matches my playstyle. And let's talk about levelling in classic World of Warcraft. I remember there was this one point where me and my friends were playing as a trio and we were levelling. We started our own guild. We invited a random guy to our guild who was the same level of us at the time, and he raced past us. And I remember asking him, how did you level up so quickly? And he seemed offended by this because he quit the guild shortly after. Even in this version of World of Warcraft that has so much praise for taking a slower, more methodical approach, players can still make you feel bad for not optimizing your speed. And of course, there's always people trying to do it as fast as possible. You've got mage AoE farming and hunter leveling speeds. Everyone really does want to race to max level as fast as humanly possible.
And it's completely fine. Let them do that. Play your own game. You don't need to be fixated on what other people is doing so hard. If some mage want to just stand in the same spot for 30 hours and farm the same dungeon with ice shards and like blizzard, sorry, not ice shards, but it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. Let them do that. You play your own game. You'll meet like-minded people and you'll have fun. your way. You can't put your mentality on everyone else. You literally cannot force that. And believe me, I'm exactly as this guy. I think exactly like him. I like the slower pace, I like the slow leveling, I like meeting people, I don't play for damage. But at the same time, I'm fully aware that I cannot force my way of thinking, my goals and values on other people. If someone likes playing like that, let them.
Well, not everyone, but it can...
Yeah, my problem begins when we start ostracizing people. That's when I draw the line. He clearly draw the line way sooner than I am. But yeah, I draw the line at ostracizing people and playing like, you know, considering other people like classes as playing suboptimally. That's where I draw the line. I think it's too much. I won't ostracize like people and alienate them from playing the game.
Feel that way whilst you're playing. And let's talk about that every man for himselfism. This is a reoccurring pattern in both classic and in retail. If you're in a group and someone completes their objective, sometimes they're just out. They're not going to stick around to help the rest of the group. And for classic in particular...
To be fair, this never happened to me. Maybe I was just fortunate, but it never happened to me. Like literally, maybe it happened once and I don't remember, but no, like I don't remember this happening. Everyone play dungeons to completion.
There's this feeling that the game kind of promotes every man for himselfism. If I tag a mob, no one else gets credit for killing that mob, and that means that people will go in and rush for that tag before someone else. And this is the same for quest drops as well, quest objectives. They're all just for you and your party and whoever tags it. And on top of that, you have slow respawns and very crowded launches. When Classic WoW was released, we saw queues for quest mobs, people taking turns and forming orderly lines so they could get the quest objectives complete.
You still have that. I play Turtle WoW. People still do that. Like, literally. I played it. It's okay. It exists. It wasn't removed from the world in its entirety.
In an orderly manner. But of course there would always be that one person that rushes ahead and steals the tag ahead of the queue. That scarcity is what promotes every man for himselfism. There is a...
No, just blacklist him. The problem is that servers are too big and you can't blacklist people anymore because people would still play with them. Back in the day it wasn't the case, so maybe bringing back smaller servers is a thing, or maybe just like a report system, but... Can you just really blame someone for tagging a mob? I think the only solution is shared mob tagging like Guild Wars do, but for Classic, obviously. So maybe that's just the solution.
Forced competitiveness in the open world. Even in 5-man party groups, if there's an elite quest, you're at odds with the other 5-man group behind you for that same quest mob.
Yeah,
or you'll be sat there waiting for the next...
Everyone hates this. Everyone, because you know... It's first come, first serves when it comes to this mofo of a boss. You know that. It's so annoying. I hate Red Ridge because of that.
Respawn. And I've let myself be overcome with every man for his selfism. Take this example right here.
Wait, what? These fuckers have just come up after we've cleared everything. Have you noticed this?
Nah, fuck them. Go up on the platform.
Look what the other guy just said. The fucking paladin's like, we should help these after.
I allowed myself to be overcome with every man for himselfism. And that's why I'm going to put my hands up and say I've been very guilty of that myself. I was out there just for my party, and I didn't want to hang around and help the other party. The thing is, if that other group had got the tag first, it would have been instant frustration. You probably would have heard me swearing about it, complaining for the whole 5 minutes I had to wait for the mob to respawn. Maybe it says more about who I am as a person rather than the general population of World of Warcraft, but it turns that feeling that we're all here to play the same game together into a constant micro competition. And some classes excel at stealing mob tags, such as the Druid with Moonfire. You can press Moonfire instant cast, boom, that mob is yours. And I've seen it happen so many times out in the wild where a Shadow Priest might have put a dot on someone, then a Druid comes along, Moonfires that mob, steals it before the Shadow Priest dot does any damage, and the Shadow Priest is left feeling rather annoyed. So
Thank you. Thank you. I feel so vindicated right now. Man, this entire video was worth watching for this moment. It was perfect. Thank you. Finally, someone understands my frustrations. Yeah, I played Shadow Priest not in Legion when they were OP. I played it in Classic. Vanilla World of Warcraft, baby. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So not only are you competing for mobs, but there are just some classes out there who excel at mob tagging and will always beat you to it. And this is where griefing can come about. If you see a mage doing AoE grinding, so they've got a lot of mobs and they're using Blizzard to damage them all at the same time, there's an opportunity for you to get a mob, tag
It's called Shadow Word Pain because everyone steals your tag.
it, bring it over and aggro it onto the mage and essentially get them killed. If you're on a PvP server, you can take the opportunity as a rogue to stealth, maybe distract them to fall off of a bridge. This kind of behavior can just be seen as part of the game, but you can also see it as toxic behavior. At the end of the day, it is fun at someone else's expense. For you, you might be having fun griefing that person, but for that person, they're probably going to be pissed off. And it's not really reportable.
Yeah.
It's just part of the social atmosphere of the game. That's why it's not really toxic, but it is fun at their expense. And if you're playing hardcore World of Warcraft, the stakes are only higher. You can essentially do the same thing, get a mob, bring it over to someone, and attempt to get them killed. And in hardcore, if that character dies, that could be hours or even days of lost progress. And this is where we get to world buff griefing.
All these people have world buffs. Oh my god, look at that. So they all have world buffs. Dispel. Oh look, he's dispelling them. Moldar's Moxie, that is one of the buffs from Dire Maul. Demon Armor,
God.
Fengus's Ferocity, that's a world buff right there. So there's a guy with world buffs, and he's just dispelled them as well. So you might have spent hours getting your world buffs, going across the world and collecting all these different boosts so your character is going to be pumping, because maybe you want to partake in pumping.
Is that a literal
boosts.
person
and
just
you're on your way
literally
to
walking
the raid,
around dispelling?
And then a priest dispels your world buff. Honestly, in
that
classic
wouldn't be
World of
me.
Warcraft, people will do
I would never do
anything
that.
to screw over another player's
Unless
prep.
you pay me.
And this is kind of core to classic WoW, because that kind of toxic behavior, it hurts so much, because classic WoW is all about your organization, your preparation, the amount of effort that you put in before the raid, and to have that all prepared, and while you're running towards the raid, have it dispelled, that hurts. This
You can't claim that classic World of Warcraft is all about that. Classic World of Warcraft is all about playing with people and about the world. Now, the world is also a reflection of our world, because those are the type of people who are playing. So you can't really claim that this isn't part of it. It's clearly part of the game. Is it a bad part? Sure. But you have to take the bad with the good. So I don't really understand his claim here. I really don't. I mean, it is frustrating, 100%. You work so hard on getting all of these buffs and some random idiot dispels you. Yeah, it sucks, but it is part of the game, whether you like it or not.
picture right here depicts the amount of people waiting for an Onyxia buff to drop. This is a buff that only drops in this city, and it will affect everyone who's waiting here. And this can be trolled as well. It used to be on my server that every day at 6 PM, you can actually see here the in-game clock says 2 past 6 PM in the evening. That is when the Onyxia buff is scheduled to drop. And yes, there was a Google Sheets showing you exactly who was going to be dropping that buff, which player.
We had that for
and
my
what
server
time.
as well.
People would literally organise this days in advance, so you knew exactly who was going to be bringing in that Onyxia head for that buff. And someone could just turn up early, drop the buff, and this meant that it would go on a cooldown for hours, and no one was able to drop the buff when we all need it. And think about all this amount of people. It's bound that a lot of these people are going to be pissed off. And this meant that an organisational effort would have to happen. You'd have to get someone in from the Horde to come in, kill the NPC, wait for them to respawn, and then that would eliminate the buff respawn timer, so someone could come in and hand in that Onyxia head and drop
I
the
didn't know
buff
you
like
can do that.
had been planned. Here's
That's
another
interesting.
world buff you can get in the world. This one is called Songflower, and this one requires coordination. You'd have to count down 3, 2, 1, everybody clicks, and if you all click at the same time, you all get the buff. In all honesty, this buff was really designed for one person to come and collect this flower,
sounds
and it gives you
impossible.
a strong buff. But we worked out, I didn't work this out, the World of Warcraft community had worked out if you all click at the same time, you all get the buff. And if anything, it shows you how well we can all work together as a community. But there will always be that one person that would come along, and I remember one time where someone would sit on the flower So all you would do if you tried to click the flower,
click him.
you would target that person. And everyone was swearing, get
It happened with the NPC required for Encourage Scarab Lord. I remember that, but Blizzard fixed it. They fixed it really quick. It was hilarious, though.
off the flower, you know, cussing them out because they were standing on the flower. Or someone might just choose to open the flower ahead of everyone, and that flower would disappear and no one could get the buff. If there is any organisational effort, there's always going to be someone out there who wants to ruin it. Now, you could argue that these behaviours are toxic, or you could argue that they're just emergent gameplay features of the game. There's nothing saying you can't do these things in the game.
Yeah, that's also true. Both are true, brother.
But either way, no matter how you look at it, it shapes the culture of the game. And honestly, when these things go wrong, it makes people angry. Now, let's talk about PvP, particularly Battlegrounds. This is a screenshot of what was sort of a typical day of Alliance PvPing. In my years of playing, Alliance never really win that often. It's usually the Horde. And this really shows me a sense of defeatism. There's just a sense of like, if you're an Alliance and you join a Battlegrounds and you don't start winning within the first minute, the round's lost. Just look.
You're about to be smacked down by one green boy and cow person. Great.
Stop trying.
Prepare
Let
thyself.
the battleground be over so we can move on to the next one. And you can see here that the Horde have all the bases and the Alliance have none in this screenshot. This was just a common occurrence. The only battleground I saw us win kind of regularly on Classic WoW was Alterac Valley.
So the solution was to never play an Alliance weakling. It was always to join the Horde as God intended. Makora, bitches. Enjoy.
Used to do a lot of PvP on retail as well, just Battlegrounds, and honestly, I don't remember us winning very often, but here's a rare screenshot where we did win, and honestly, I was just there to flex on the amount of healing done. At this time, I've organised the scoreboard by healing to show you that I was there smashing my healing keys. And while it's not essentially toxic behaviour, it shows you that there's a deep sense of apathy amongst WoW players. And honestly, that defeatism does kill the experience for me. If I go into a battleground and everyone's there just saying, don't bother, why are you bothering? Stop getting the flag and let them win. Doesn't really encourage me to try myself either. And here's a skeleton with a pig head. And let's be honest, retail fixed a lot of these things. You can't steal someone's mob because there is shared tagging.
Yeah.
If I hit that mob, I will get credit for it, and so will you. It's easier to find a group. If I press I, it loads up the dungeon finder. I can click find group. If someone leaves, I can click search and it will find me a replacement. With all these convenience features, there is just less waiting around. There's also more content for solo players. There's plenty to be done if you don't want to play with anyone else. And there is that trade-off that convenience reduces social interaction. And I've talked about all of this before in some of my other World of Warcraft videos that you can find on this channel. But when looking at classic and retail, it's easy to see how those different systems create different social outcomes. And these outcomes include different...
Absolutely. Like, the games are so vastly different. The communities inside of them are bound to have major differences. Even though retail players did affect Classic, and retail mentality has completely butchered Classic in my opinion, Classic World of Warcraft still holds as one of the best MMOs out there. And honestly, just the best one. Like, it's still, to this day, my very favorite all-time MMO. It's just the best, and the community is part of it. Because the slow gameplay attracts a certain type of people that I really enjoy playing with. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing more to add. Retail, unfortunately, is the complete opposite. It's very quick gameplay. Leveling doesn't matter. Everyone is fixated on pushing high keys in Mythic and doing like the best raids and getting the highest score and all of that. And this competitiveness is... I'm a really competitive player, and the competitiveness is good in my case, but not inside of an MMORPG. I play an MMORPG for the slower paced meeting with people and having like social interactions. But whenever I want to play a competitive game, I play CSGO, right? I play Counter-Strike. I play other games, right? I don't play an MMO to be competitive. But again, that's just me. Unfortunately, retail WoW doesn't cater to people such as myself. It caters to the sweats. It caters to the 1%ers. And at the end of the day, I guess that's why the game is doing so poorly and Blizzard has to re-release Classic every 2 months.
Types of toxicity that is present in each game. And when you step into these games, it might start off as exploration and something new, but over time you will encounter some of the culture that I've discussed today. But the good news is you can completely influence your experience if you put in a little bit of effort yourself. You can choose the right guild, find the right set of people that give you an experience that you enjoy. And
be the one who makes the group. I'm always the one who's assembling group in Classic World of Warcraft. Always. I never joined one. Never. Even as a tank. I'm always creating the group. Like always.
And it doesn't matter if you're on Classic or Retail, if you're doing a dungeon run, advertise the kind of run that you'd like. Advertise it to attract the sort of people you'd like to join you. If you want it to be a chill run, a run where no one has many expectations, then say so, and you will probably have people looking for that same sort of experience, whispering.
100%.
And if you don't share the same goals as people who like passing or running content as fast and as optimally as possible, then don't join those groups. So what kind of toxic behaviors have...
Exactly. Just don't join these type of groups and guilds that forces you to play in a way that you don't want to play. That's it. It's honestly that simple. Great video. Great video. I'm going to leave a link in the description. You guys should watch it for yourself. Give him a like. I really like his World of Warcraft videos. I think they're great. And yeah, I pretty much said all that I had to. I mean, it's true. Like, it's true. Some toxicity would always exist inside of a game to a certain degree, but it's also a matter of how much you let it affect you. So there's inevitability and there is personal responsibility. You have a lot of agency on what you feel and experience inside of the game too. So never forget that. Always be kind to other people and always be considerate.